Welcome to Cheap and Crass Satanic Storytime, where we explore Satanism through satanic storytelling, satanic poetry, and writing lessons. Hello, my name is Cheap and Crass, and in this episode, I will be sharing my short story and poetry, which explore common ideas and themes found within the satanic community. After satanic story and poetry time, I would also like to share a brief writing lesson if anyone is still interested. Please feel free to reach out to me on Twitter or Substack if you have any questions or feedback. This episode's story is called House of Departure. I wrote this piece to honor my late friend and writer, Greg Eatson. In this essay, I have integrated his writing as the handwriting in the notes that show up within the story in order to shine a light on his brilliant work. The story explores themes of death, addiction, depression, and hope, and it shines a light on our most favorite book, The House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danielewski. I will have links in the description for House of Leaves if anyone is interested. I highly recommend House of Leaves and think that the book will resonate with many in the satanic community. With that, here is House of Departure. Windows blacked out, vents sealed, gates rusted. The black house loomed with cathedral-like spires, with overgrown thistles, dandelions, and not-so-emerald green grass. The kind of house children whispered to each other about as they passed by on their way to school. I wiggled through the rusted, decayed gate, a time well after the original occupants erected the gate's sturdy iron posts to guard from all things outside. The house door gasped open, wide, exposing a hollow jet interior. The house's narrow foyer acted as blinders as I stepped inside like a hog to slaughter to meet the wide open and vulnerable spaces. This seemingly mile-long hall's end gave way to a mammoth room, the belly of the beast. The shadows pushed and pulled on the room's cavernous wall, ceiling, windows, and stairs, blurring the lines between there and not there. Tiny lit candles peppering the space were the only offer of light found within the house so far. My eyes adjusted to the faint glowing illuminations and dragged from the dust-covered floor and up toward the ceiling, following the snake of wall-to-wall columns and stacks of handwritten notes. Throughout the room, note piles slinked up into the yawning shadows of the home ceiling until black overtook them. Handwriting on notebooks, handwriting on paper, envelopes, business cards, sketch paper, bound notebooks, ripped notebooks, greeting cards, postcards, grade school biology textbooks, newspaper, and gifted leather-bound journals. Against the darkness, the faint dance of the candlelight continued to grow stronger and way more intense than it should. The dim candles only shed enough light to paint the room gold, but not enough to showcase shades of any other color against the shadows. Near a boarded-up window, there in the far corner, offered yet another warm light, emitting from a tiny vintage television, propped up on a rickety little stand. The screen quietly played Harmony Korine tap dancing as he sang. I love curb dancing. Mostly I curb dance when all the lights are out and all the people are asleep. A worn-out envelope's penned cursive laid like discarded roadkill on the floor beneath the TV stand. The envelope read, "When you die, the world absorbs you completely and wholeheartedly. You understand desire is the oxygen the blood breathes. To take from the Lord's world is death inside of death, without closure of work or pleasure of self, without the deeds of work. I turned over the envelope to find more handwriting. It read, Sunday, August 27, 2023. I can't really find anything interesting about writing anymore. I don't understand the point. Looking up from the note, St. Harm continued to dance on the flickering television. As he sang, I think we invented curb dancing to the delight of God. I turned over the envelope again and the handwriting changed. It read, there was a very old lantern, so old that the neighbor folk who mysteriously inherited it were told that the same light that created the world was contained in this very lantern. A very, very old hermit, it was said, was sent to deliver it. The hermit was so old and so unkempt that birds lived in his beard without him even noticing. He spoke very little, which worried the villagers, because they knew nothing about him. Where did he come from? What was his name? Did he have a family? Sure, shy people were a dime a dozen, but this man, wrapped in every smell a forest might churn out, was shy to a degree that would make even the most petulant person stop in their tracks. It was clear he and the lantern were one and the same ghost. Over time, his hulking figure would bumble through the town square to get items for his cottage. Over time, curious little children would sneak up behind him, follow him around for some time, and tell the most monstrous lies. The further from the truth one of their stories was, the more enticing of the telling of it grew. I shoved the envelope into my back pocket as my eyes adjusted still further back. Post-it notes blanketed the corner behind Dancing Harmony. With the glowing of the screen, the post-its looked more like scales of a snake, or maybe a dragon, or some wordless, scaled predatory animal. A random glance at one stuck and curled post-it note read, I have a passion for the wordless though, the spaces between the words. A crumpled post-it note which lost its grip at some point said, it read, I just take notes and eventually I hope they add up to something. The note fell to the floor, and in that moment another room seemed to manifest and billowed right out in front of me. These are the rooms which are often locked and fortified. No one is allowed to talk about this room. This room ballooned and spiraled silently as I stood, frozen. This ever-expanding room pulled me into its orbit, and through the entrance, this room. Always this room. This room consumes countless souls after venturing in, and so few are ever lucky enough to leave with their life. This room without windows, and this room without doors. This room's center filled with tiny burning, handwritten post-its. The burning pieces were so small as they fell from the shadows of this room's impossibly high ceiling. The tiny glowing paper pieces fell so slowly that they were almost suspended like southern fields saturated with fireflies. I snatched a burning post-it note from the air. It read, N.A. note, one too many, and one is too many, and 1,000 is never enough. This room's familiarity hit me all at once. The burning hot and the freezing washed over every pore. Slapped by cravings so intense, these cravings assured these god-awful feelings would never go away. This room assured everyone that the pain would never get better. This room said the suffering would never stop. The shadows swallowed my fingers and ash covered my arms. The black heroin-like shadows on my hands flooded my mind with memories. Junk sick in my nearly broken down car with my last $20. Waiting for hours after midnight in a place no one should wait for a dealer that never comes because she's too fucking high. In this room, I stood up and turned and turned and turned again to try to find a way out of this ever-expanding, cavernous space. The walls strangled by the growing shadows, the entrance swallowed, the ceilings wiped away by black. Shadows continued to crawl and seemed to swallow it all blacked out except for the burning embers of writing hanging in the air. How many more is this room going to take? How many more people is this room going to unceremoniously flush down the toilet? Maybe this room is in your house too. The trembling and now sweat-soaked hands, my now trembling and sweat-soaked hands swiped a burning post-it note floating just arm's reach. The shaken handwriting read, "Move forward 10 steps in any direction and move now." I discarded the fiery paper and stepped away and stepped away and stepped. Within a few moments, I was away from the house, away from that room, away from house of departure. I pulled out a piece of paper and pen from my warm pocket, hands still shaking. The ink instantly bled black as I began to write. I wrote, "Who needs religion nowadays when I wrestle and fight with my own thoughts daily? The war of heaven and hell is waged in my mind every day. It certainly is more than enough for me. I'll take notes, and eventually I hope they add up to something." Thank you for listening to House of Departure. This next part is a few poems. The first one is called "In This Room." In this room, candles poured gold over shadows. Jet black blankets the floor and walls like velvet. All the saints and demons won't save you from a type of nothing destruction. The mind is an ironclad prison. It gives you the key and makes you swallow it. Just stare at the walls and wait for a physical death. Let the body catch up to the mind's suicide, where the shadows string the gold into oblivion. Next one is Mechanized Curse. A present for a child, wrapped in bows and flowers. A wind-up toy bird that teeters and totters, left at the door by an admiring stranger. A present of nightmares, had by a girl before her no longer. A kind of mechanized curse, now an family heirloom forever. Next one is Horns. From the center of the circle, Lilith rose. Horns protruded like a crown, bridled in silver and jet. Deep scarification set in them, like a lost and dangerous language. No one dared speak anymore. Thank you. This next part for this week's lesson, writing lesson, if anyone's still interested, I wanted to talk about utilizing common experiences and life experiences to create memorable stories. Taking your own life stories and presenting them in a story form is a great way to share your life and memories while providing something that resonates with a larger audience. Also find a theme that resonates with a larger audience, and this will help create a successful story. Memories are remembered through story. I remember a family member packing up an annual Christmas tree. And every year she looks at each ornament as she packs it up with some sadness, some melancholy. Each ornament is a story that helps tell her life. One ornament is her daughter handmade it in second grade. Another ornament, a gift from her late husband, on and on. Each of these ornaments are like memories that will be forgotten or possibly thrown away when she's gone. I thought that was a beautiful yet melancholy metaphor, which I think most of us can relate to. How do we keep memories from being thrown away? How do we keep them from being forgotten? Living room photos, slideshows, and photo albums only do so much. Stories have a way of hanging around, and writers often talk about finding that shared story or that shared feeling or shared by the culture. Hazing stories about shame, stories about addiction are almost universal with certain cultures. Telling your story will allow other people to talk to you about their same experience they had as well. It also gives the readers and friends an opportunity to share their story. And it's great to see a way to see how well that story resonates overall. If you tell a story and you find many people come up to you and to share their own story, that can be a great indicator that you might have something worthwhile. As a writer, I continually try to find these repeating themes and ideas, and I attempt to use that within stories told in third person or with metaphor. Now, my writing teacher strongly encourages dropping the I when storytelling. That rule is something I am still learning to integrate, and I think it is very effective if you drop the I. If you find that I does work, yeah, you can use it. Just kind of be careful with it. Also, it's a kind of everyday assignment for me. Do any of you have a story you would like to share or have thought about kind of carried with you in your life? Please feel free to share in the comments. I would love to hear about it. And with that, again, thank you. If you enjoy my story and poems, please consider subscribing to my Substack, The Canonical Writings of Cheap and Crass. There are options for free and paid subscriptions, as well as links for the intro to House of Leaves, and a sneak peek at the audiobook, first chapter of House of Leaves, that is really good. And also, thank you so much for your kind feedback and comments. They really make my day every time. And thank you so much for taking the time to listen, and hail Satan.